You're listening to the Para House Entertainment Network. Come join us as we take you deep into the fire to the paranormal realms of hauntings, UFOs, ETs, alien abductions, strange creatures, and the vastness of universal consciousness as we continue to seek what is not supposed to exist as we search for the truth that only comes from going into the fire. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Into the Fire. It's Sunday night, and my gosh, we have got an exciting show for us tonight. I've been looking forward to this for a long time, and tonight has come, and I hope you guys in the chat room, once you get going in here, will be in here to really have an excellent time. We've got two extremely experienced gentlemen in here, good people in the paranormal and the supernatural. That's William Nighthawk and Dennis Carroll. And it is such a pleasure to have them here. We're going to talk to them just here in a second. I'm going to bring Billy and Tanya in here. I'm going to put you guys back in the green room just for a second, and I'll bring you back up, okay? How you guys doing?
We're doing
good.
It's been a whole week since I've seen you since last.
I know. We've been busy.
I'll tell you right now, I am so geeked and stoked for this. This show we've had people asking about it, a lot going on. These guys have a huge following. They're just super individuals. And, combined, folks, these gentlemen here have 100 years of paranormal and supernatural experience between them both, and which is just fantastic. And when we put all of us on the screen, we're going to see we don't think about it very much, and we don't call ourselves too much, but between us, we have almost 100 years of experience, because you two have 25 years and I've got some kind. So we're almost, so we're in that same ballpark. So tonight we have over, almost 200 years of experience, and it's going to be so special, and we just can't wait to bring them on. You guys got anything that you want to talk about before we start the show?
Yeah, this time change stuff, it's got to stop.
I'll tell you, taking away an hour is just no fun for me. And
when you're going to lose an hour of sleep, you can't go to bed to save your life.
Right. You can't sleep at all. Exactly. And now supposedly they were supposed to change it, and eventually I think they're going to keep it all so we're in one area, but the way the world's going right now, I can't give you a clue either way what's going to happen, because it surprises me every day. I think sometimes I'm on top of it, and other times I'm not. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to read these wonderful guys' bios. So we'll be back. We'll bring them back in, and we'll get the show on the road. Chat room, we appreciate you being in here. These shows are all for you. If you've got questions, this is the night that you want to ask, because these guys are going to be able to give you some pretty good answers. Great bunch of people. So without further ado, I'm going to do a little bit of reading 101. And so as I mentioned earlier, William Nighthawk and Dennis Carroll together have almost 100 years of paranormal experience. We'll start off with William. William Nighthawk has investigated the paranormal for over 45 years. He was raised in a haunted house with a highly active paranormal property, and he has been trained by a Native American Indian black witch in the arts of Native people, including the skinwalker ceremony. He has experienced everything from ghosts, little people, elementos, shadow figures, aliens, UFOs, and cryptid creatures. On our other guest, Dennis Carroll, has had a career of over 55 plus years in all fields of the paranormal and has had many personal supernatural experiences. He is recognized authority on demonology and the occult. He is a national and international known writer, published author, and folklorist. He has many appearances on TV and radio programs. He has been featured on ABC News and US Today. He is the founder and director of American Institute for Paranormal Research and Investigations. Both William and Dennis are the hosts of their own podcast shows, which you can view on the following. And we're going to show you some pictures of those in a little bit, but I'll read them off to you. Nighthawk High Strangeness on Anchor. Also on YouTube, Nighthawk High Strangeness podcast. Their show titles on Saturday and Sundays: Paranormal Weekend Brew, Morning Brew Show, and also Down the Rabbit Hole. You can also catch them on Twitch at Nighthawk High Strangeness. Dennis also has a fantastic website. We'll put that up for you later. It's going to be, you can catch him at www.denniswcarroll.com. And of course, all of his books, and we're going to show you some pictures of his 5 books here, are all available on Amazon and at Barnes and Nobles. So without further ado, I'm going to come back in here and we're going to bring these fine gentlemen back onto the screen and we're going to start to show off. There's William and there's Dennis. Good evening, folks. Thanks again. And I mean, impressive stuff. I'm going to spend just a little bit I want to show some of the, before we get into the meat and potatoes, we'll do it again at the end of the show also. But I want to be able to give a little bit of idea of, Nighthawk High Strangeness. Great show. You can see it on all the channels that we mentioned. Dennis and him are both on these shows. Rabbit Hole podcast, also on YouTube. You can pick up books Beyond the Shadow, which is authored by Brandon Hodges and Dennis Carroll. Also, The Unseen Road. Then you have it's In the Sunshine and Shadows by Dennis Carroll. Sunshine Collection 2. And then these are poems of the paranormal, natural poems. They are fantastic. You got to check them out. Here is the American Research Institute AIPR Paranormal. And later on, we're going to talk about making some donations, and maybe you might like to have a Weirdo Warrior United Proud to be a Warrior coffee cup, and we can tell you how we're going to get one of those. We'll have them explain to you that, okay? So, guys, we've got all the good stuff up here. We got that out of the way. Let's talk paranormal and supernatural. Where do you guys want to go?
Since that's all done, I guess the show is over because you could have kept on going and going and going.
I know. Is that not the truth, man? Is that not the truth? But we have a lot of different experiences that we could probably talk about. We've all had the same kind of experience. But there's, we've talked about several different things. We'll get into every one of them. And I know the chat room's going to want to feed and kick off all kinds of different stuff. But not too long ago, Billy and Tanya and I had an experience that we've seen before, but I've never been. This one was a little bit different. we were standing on the back porch of a place that does have portals pop up on it outside in a certain area. And the next thing we see is a quite large glimmer man, or what we call the predator type man. And this thing is, and normally, I got to tell you, Billy will tell you the same thing. In fact, I'll even let you tell him, Billy, I'll let you tell him the story if you'd like.
You go ahead, Bear.
All right. When we're all standing back there, we normally like to go investigate. If we see something, we're going to look at it. But it was so funny when we see this thing and it's moving in that predator type thing, and it's going back and forth. And it looked like it had an attitude. It looked like it was wanting to actually challenge us. And at the same time, we went, normally we'd go down there and we'd say, well, let's go take a look at that. But we all sat back on the top of the porch and said, there ain't no way we're going down there. We're staying right here. And that is so fun. I mean, it's funny to us, but at the same time, that's the kind of thing that came across as, yeah, exactly, Censor. That is exactly the feeling that we all had. You guys come up in front of them before?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, I've experienced them with portals right outside my own home. It's something. A lot of people say, oh, what have you been drinking, or what have you been smoking? And it's not that at all. It's not that we're imagining these things.
Right.
First off, I can tell you all portals are real. They do exist. You can open a portal to another dimension. You can open a portal to another time. I've been there through ceremony and have done that.
Right, exactly.
Mankind has no idea the power that is within them. Okay. This is why demons actually fear us. Okay. Because they're afraid that if mankind figures out what kind of power they actually have, and if they actually have a faith, we're unstoppable, and that's just it, Now, whenever I felt that way with the Glimmer Man, I only felt that way one time when it felt aggressive. And I've experienced it 3 times here at the house. And because we live out in the country. And the one time that I experienced that aggression was when I was thinking about stuff that meant my faith.
Right.
Like I was contemplating doing something involving my faith, and it got really angry. So I honestly can tell you, I know what you mean when you talk about it being aggressive and angry.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because what we do, and but as from our spiritual, we have cleared and cleansed and done a lot of different things, bumped into a lot of things. And we call ourselves, unfortunately, what we are is marked, because once you start doing that, the evil knows that you do it. They don't want you in the area. They don't want you around because they know what you're capable of. They know what you're there to do. We're there to try to help people out and straighten their lives up. And what do? We come in there and they're like going, oh no, not these bunch of people, because, and I've actually had EVPs and where they say, we hate you. Why do you hate me? It's your light. I don't like the light. I hate the light. And when they talk like that to you, you know that they are definitely totally like going, get away from me, go away. I don't want to deal with that. And while we were sitting up there, that's our reputation, and kind of in a long shot, because we have done this for many years and helped several people out come across these things. But when you're there, you do kind of, and you see something like that and you feel that, your faith comes forward. You're like going, oh, what is that? And why is it here? and then you are automatically beaming your light out because you're like going, wait a minute, I've got this inside of me here. This is the power of what I have, and I'm not letting that go. So it's battling back and forth. And it's funny. I have seen him probably about 3 times also, William, and it's kind of odd because that was the first time it's really been aggressive, what I consider to be aggressive. But I think we were talking more about, can you remember the conversation we were having, Billy and Tanya, when we were up there? It was kind of more along the lines of what we do a lot of times with removing spirits and so forth, wasn't it?
I'm wondering if maybe there might have been an event or a private going on at the time, and that we were there.
Is that the night we took that thing off that person? I wonder if it's the same night. I can't remember.
Well, we've seen, the 3 of us together have seen the Glimmer Man.
Yeah.
We've seen him from the back porch, and we've seen him from the front porch.
And also in around the table in the dining room.
And it's one of those things. It wasn't one of, hey, do you see that? Yeah. Do you see it? Yeah. It wasn't like that. We all saw it.
Yeah. It was like,
we all look at each other and look back,
We even tried the thermal, and the thermal didn't pick it up at all.
Well, William and I
tried ultraviolet light. Ultraviolet light.
William and I have
Yeah, get
speculated
yourself
on
an
that a lot,
ultraviolet light
and
flashlight.
I think it's a possibility that these beings, what we call Glimmer Man, is a transitional thing from one dimension to another, and that's the way we see its form. That may not be what it really looks like, but in its transit from one dimension to another through a portal or whatever the situation is, that may be what we're seeing. We've talked about that a lot with the shadow beings. So there's we talked about that the other day. There's so many different categories of shadow beings. There's some that could be demonic. There are some that are flat, 2-dimensional, stick-like figures.
Right.
You have the Hat Man. You remember the Hat Man, which has a hat like yours there, Bear. He's very malevolent. He's very demonic. He's attacked and seriously hurt people. So you have different categories of these things. But I think Glimmer Man may be something that's sort of a transitional being going from one thing to another. We just happen to see that in-between thing.
Well, it's funny when we talk about interdimensional beings, we know that they exist. We know that they're out here. When normally you see them, you don't see them because we only see in a 3rd dimension. And you're talking about a multiple dimensional being. So it makes sense when you're looking at them, you're only going to be able to see a portion of that being. So, it's like a flat piece of paper being 1-dimensional and something being 2-dimensional. Flat piece of paper is only going to see a 1-dimensional thing.
Well, you think about it, Bear, too. We actually, as human beings, can only see between 430 and 770 terahertz. That's a small, that's like a real, that's like, on the whole spectrum. So there's stuff that happens around us all the time, every minute of the day that we don't see, that we can't experience because we don't see it. Now, if you have a near-death experience, you are a little closer to seeing those things because you're a little closer because you walked in both worlds.
Yes.
Okay. And I've often said that the very fabric of this universe is woven from a supernatural cloth. We only see so much of what's here. There's so very little that we pick up on. Like Nighthawk said, you don't see a lot, you don't hear a lot, you don't experience a lot of what's really out there. And that was the first question when I had my experience many years ago, my first paranormal experience. That was the one thing that haunted me for years. What else is out there? And I'm still looking for that. What else? In many aspects. But you have to wonder, what am I not seeing? What am I not hearing? What am I not experiencing?
But with everybody having cameras and things now on their houses and everything else, they're picking up so much more that they didn't know even existed.
Exactly. And I never called myself a ghost hunter. Actually, I think that term's been done to death. I call it spiritual research, which is what it basically is, you know.
Right.
And I've done much of that over the years. But it all is connected. That's the strange thing about it. Once you get into it, you understand it's all connected.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It's we see a lot of paranormal teams coming along. They get started, and the first thing that they do is they get in there and they go, "I got it all figured out. This is my theory." And then it's like going, they're beating it to the pulp. And then I'm like going, just wait a minute, because in 5 seconds it's going to change, and it's going to change every time. In the 47 years that I've spent in this thing, I've thought I had it figured out 100 times, but boy, let me tell you something. It's surprising. There's no that veil out there is. There's things that are hiding in plain sight. And she mentioned the cameras, and we've come a long way.
And sometimes that veil is very thin. Certain times of the year, certain places, certain situations, it can be very thin.
But back to the Glimmerman thing, the one that was inside of the hall around the table was going around just checking people out, and he would like look around.
I forgot about that.
And look at you in your face. And when I looked back at him, he jumped back.
Yeah. See, they're not allowed.
I even seen him, and then it was more of a curiosity than anything.
Yeah, Tanya and Billy and Bear and Dennis knows this too. They're not allowed to interact with us unless we approach them first.
No.
Right. But when I started turning my head and looking at him, he kind of turned his head and looked at me, but he jumped back in shock.
Yeah.
And then slowly went around the table because he didn't know what I was going to do. You know what I mean? It was kind of like a fear thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And just kept looking back at me from time to time to see if I was watching.
Yep.
And you know what was really weird about that is that was the first time ever that I have seen a glimmer person inside a home.
Yes. And he was all up in my face until he saw that I could see him. And then he was just,
and that's what was so weird. And he went around the table looking at people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's checking your light. He's checking your personal strength.
Here's the kicker.
Yeah.
It was completely dark.
Mm-hmm.
Lights out.
But when you encounter a portal, okay, you got to remember, a portal is just an opening, a doorway. It can be like a spiritual doorway. Who knows what's on the other side of that door, and what's trying to come through.
Some of it can stay there.
Yeah. Let's not go there. I've seen
it. Hopefully you come back from that experience. But I have been around portal areas. I have dealt with the situation of people opening these doorways and not closing them, and what they allow to come through. But you can definitely have pickups on the doorways, and I think the Glimmer Man is connected to portals to a certain extent. That may be his mode of travel. That may be where he comes from, or whatever the case may be. But if you and you know what I'm about to say, if you have that magnetic aberration that comes up, that something messes with your compass, or you feel that buzzing, that vibration in the air, or you can pick up in many different ways that you're in that. And I have experienced the Glimmer Man that I experienced. I felt that vibration there. It was in the air. It's almost a hum, like you can almost hear it, but you feel it more than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah, I know exactly what you're feeling, and exactly what you're saying, because it is kind of like a frequency tone almost, but it comes through you're feeling it all throughout your whole body. Yeah. It just becomes part of you, and right away you got the tingles that something amazing is going on. These portals are so strange, and we've had a lot of people. We happen to, I deal with Octagon Hall Museum down here in Franklin, and I've been there for a long, long time, and it's famously known for its haunts and everything else, but it is ancient property. And there are things on that property that are just beyond people's comprehension. And the portals happen to be one of them. When they open up, you almost see like a whitish blue. I tell people, if you're looking out there and you see a whitish blue cloud kind of going on the ground, then be very careful, because you don't know what's going to happen to you. And especially if a doorway opens up, and I've had people see doorways. I've personally seen them pop up, and the things that come out of there are beyond your imagination.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
We had 6 people not too long ago. And if I wasn't standing out there looking in the same direction they were doing, I'd have told them they were bull face fire, because they see a monitor pop up through a portal and stood there and then went back down into the portal.
Yeah. Yeah, and like it goes back to the whole theory too of, and it is theory for right now,
right?
About portals being connected to other dimensions and other time frames of time and space. Mankind is the only creature in the whole universe that puts a limit on time and space. Okay,
true.
We limit ourselves to what our capabilities are. And until we get rid of those limitations, we're never going to experience the total connection we have with the universe around us.
That's
okay,
true.
I got a couple of questions from Frankie Lynn. She
Hi,
said,
Frankie, how are you?
She says, how do we tap into our abilities if they haven't come to fruition yet?
The best way, this reminds me of the old commercials back in the 70s about ancient Chinese secret, hotshot. Anyways, the best way I can do to have, and what the first thing I instruct people that I kind of tutor or mentor, is you want to wait for a good thunderstorm. Okay, wait for a good thunderstorm to come through, and you want to take your shoes and your socks off. And once the thunderstorm is done, you want to go outside, okay, in your bare feet, and you want to go out into the grass, and you want to curl your toes up into the ground. You want to feel the power of Mother Earth and the power from that thunderstorm to give you a spiritual strength and a connection that you've never experienced before. And if you do that enough, it doesn't have to be a thunderstorm. You can do it enough. I do it before I go cryptid hunting. I'll take my shoes and my socks off, and I'll curl my toes up into the ground around the woods where I'm going into, just to make that connection, and then I'll lay tobacco down to say thank you. You have to realize that everything that we do, we are connected to everything. It's like Chief Seattle said, what we do to the web, we do to ourselves. Everything is connected. Everything.
And everyone is connected in that same web. We're all connected together, And, it's
and that's one of the first things that when I first got into, I'm retired law enforcement, and I went to the professionals to learn how to absolutely, truly investigate things. And I take a case, whether it's outside or in a room or whatever the case. I look at it as more like a crime scene in certain instances. That's the way I approach it. And I think your mindset is very important in these certain circumstances. You need to have you need to have an open mind, but you don't want your brain to fall out. Okay, but you need to have an open mind when you go into these things, but you don't need to let your opinion get in the way. You need to put your opinion in a box somewhere and leave it there for a while, because you need to soak in what's going on there. Just like William says, you open yourself up to that to a certain extent, and you're more in tune with the environment of what it is, wherever you're at, what you're investigating. I think that's very important that you take it that way, But I have mentored a lot of groups over the years, and we would go somewhere, and I say, okay, I'm not going to tell you what happened here. I want you to come back and tell me what you experienced. Right. I don't want to plant that seed in your mind and screw you up, because you're going to see something. Here's the thing about it. It's what you perceive more than what you believe, what you want to believe. You understand? It's what you got to perceive more. Yeah.
100%. 100% true. 100% true. It is so amazing. People always ask us, and I always tell people that you've got to go within and understand the inner parts. You have to go inside yourself. And being a religious person, that's the most important part to me, to relate that we are all one. We do have a very special being inside of us that we are part of. And the important part is that when you make that connection and you do the things of grounding and you get that things right and you go out and you respect Mother Nature and you respect the whole earth as one breathing complete thing.
If you give respect, you get respect back.
Exactly. Yeah. And it also opens you up to be more conscious of what's going on around you in your experiences. It's very funny when people always look at us, Billy and Tanya and I, will walk around, and sometimes I've got my hands out. Billy's got his hands out like this because what are we trying to do? We're trying to read what's happening around us. We want to know what's out there. It's kind of like going there. We use all the senses we have. Senses are very powerful, and things come back through to that. And it's just part of it. Once you get used to it, and Dennis, you're so right about clearing your brain.
Yeah, and you say get used to it. People understand. Right. It takes practice.
It does.
Yeah.
It
does.
We often call it leveling up.
Yeah.
And when you investigate an area, like in a room, or if it's a house, or even outside, you disturb that area. I've kind of always had a little bit of a scientific slant on this. Okay, it's like looking at a controlled experiment. Okay, and that's what science learns from things like that, the controlled experiment. And when you go in a place, you've already disturbed it. You've messed the vibe up on it, so to speak. And then you need to let it settle down, and you need to become part of that environment. Whether you're looking for Bigfoot or Dogman, or whether you're looking for ghosts, or whatever the situation is, you become part of that environment again. They become more accustomed to you and more used to you. You're liable to see things or experience something a whole lot better that way than. And I've often said this. I know I get a lot of Bigfoot hunters mad at me, okay? But I've always said this: if you go out in the woods hollering and screaming and knocking on trees with a stick, you're going to run everything off from out around. Okay, that's just not the way to do that. That's just a smart way. William knows this. He knows this well. You just don't do that. Okay. That's why we used to laugh at deer hunters. They go out in the woods smoking, how you ever gonna catch it? You ever gonna get around deer? Like they smell you from 2 miles away,
exactly.
With that cigarette. Okay, but there's a right way and a wrong way to do everything. I'd rather do it the right way. It takes up less time.
Exactly, 100% right. That's when we always, you can always tell the old birds from the old dogs from the young ones, because they come in and they're all excited and everything else, and all I want to do is sit in a chair and just take it in. I want to become part of my environment. I just want to listen. I just want to be there. Let them get used to me being there, because you're 100% right. When you walk through, we're a totally different frequency, a totally different being. When we walk in there, it makes it disturbs the pathway. That's an example.
I'll say this, Barry. If you go out there hollering and beating on trees, Bigfoot's standing out there. I don't want to mess with this guy. Okay, I don't want to do this. This guy scares me. I won't mess with him. I'm not going to have anything to do. I'm leaving that.
Well, what would happen if that was going on in your neighborhood?
Yeah. And people wonder why the heck he throws gigantic rocks and trees at you.
Yeah. That's what we said earlier. That's what we said earlier about giving respect. You're going to get it back. It's a two-way street, And I would rather be very respectful. I used to get mad about ghost hunters, so to speak, to go ahead and start cussing ghosts and saying bad things to them and shouting and screaming at them. I thought, God, if that was me, I wouldn't answer you. You
Yeah,
know,
exactly.
if you're that disrespectful, I'm not going to have anything to do with you. That's not the right way to do that. That's just not
Right.
the way.
Yeah,
Some people like to
provoking.
learn the hard way.
Or
Yeah,
I would be the one going, I'm the devil, or
yeah,
You're
yeah.
wrong.
Provoking is not the way to go about
No.
things.
No.
Mankind hasn't learned a thing about their past because all the provoking and poking and the wars and stuff that they've experienced, you'd think that they would learn by now, but no, we haven't as a collective.
Correct.
You know, and that comes from the military vet in me. But like I said before too, when you experience, when you have a near-death experience, it's like turning the volume, your paranormal volume meter, from a 2 to a 12 plus.
Yeah.
Okay. And, you know, that's what happened with me when I was young too. You know, when I was 3 years old, well, 3.5, but when I was 3.5, I was almost beaten to death by 2 teenage kids for who and what I was, for being a long-haired Native American boy. Okay. You know, and you know, when you come out of that, the first thing I saw was my grandmother, because you always, as a children, they want that comfort. Okay. The first thing I saw was my grandmother. And she told me right then and there, she goes, "You're not ready to go yet." She goes, "You got a lot to do yet and a lot to experience. So you go back." And I came back, and, you know, I guess ever since that day, I can honestly say that my whole life was changed, because it did exactly what I just said. It turned that paranormal meter from a 2 or a 1 up to a plus 12, 15. You know, I mean, it was incredible, the amount of paranormal activity that increased just from after that one incident. So
Exactly.
I totally agree with you. I mean, that's what happened with me.
Yep.
Same thing.
Well,
Same thing with me.
when I had my experience, when I first had my experience, I was about 12 years old. One of my first experiences with the paranormal, I actually, at a church service, I actually saw demons come out of a man and go through a wall. Now, that's just something you don't see every day, usually. I've seen some since then. I've seen a few instances since then, but I was sitting there, and the first thing is your jaw is on the floor. You know, your jaw drops. Did I see that? And for several years after that, I began. It affected me. Once you have these experiences, you're not the same again. Like William said, it changes your whole perspective on everything. And I tried to deny for a long time what I saw. I saw that, but eventually I had to get honest with myself and say I actually saw that. And what they looked like were like soccer-sized balls of dirty white light. That's the only way I can explain that. Okay, of course I've seen them take other forms since then, but that's what the form they took that day. They came out of this man and went through a wall right next to him. Well, I sat there, I saw this, but I didn't want to believe it. That's just how the effect it was on me. And I said, I just can't believe that. But when I began to be honest with myself and say, I did see that, then it lit a fire under me to understand and know what it was that I experienced, you know? And that's what started me down the road of the paranormal. But I have had a death life experience like William's talking about. I actually saw the angel of death. That's a story for another time. But I was on that borderline. And once you reach that borderline, that veil or whatever name you want to give it, you'll never be the same person that comes back. You never will. Because your whole outlook changes.
Yep.
I agree 100%. Everything changes. It's an awakening experience. People talk about ascension and awakening and all the other stuff. Near-death experiences are an awakening. Let me tell you, because as you have one, you realize the fragility of our own being, but you also realize that there is something else that moves forward into another realm. And when it comes back in you, you have just gained so much knowledge from that one little experience, that one little taste that it never leaves you. I mean, it never leaves you, and it changes you immediately and towards a lot of people try to reason with it. You know, the worst problem that we have in our body is our mind.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
You know, when your mind starts going, I can't believe in that stuff. Aliens? Oh, there's no aliens. Oh, you got to be kidding me. That, you know, and there's this thing doesn't exist. So all of a sudden,
I've had that happen a lot, Bear. People will say, I don't believe in that stuff. I don't believe. But let me tell you what happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
There's always that belief there, whether they want to believe it or not. It's
Exactly.
there. That belief system is there. Yeah. And you run into that. I'll say this, okay? I'm kind of like that old country song. You know, I was country before country was cool. I was paranormal before paranormal was cool. Okay.
I understand that well.
You wouldn't believe the names I've been called and all that, but that's another story. Anyway, people will either embrace what you're talking about because they've had that experience, or they want to know, they want to understand, or they will fight it. They'll push it back and say, "Oh, that rocks my boat. I don't want to deal with it." You know,
Right.
They close their mind off to it, and like you said, the mind is everything, really. And I agree with that. And you know, if the seat of the soul is anywhere in you, it's up here. It's not in your heart. Your heart's just a pump. But here's where it's at. You know, that's exactly where it's coming from. And it's very important. Your attitude and the way you look at these things is very, very important. What kind of experiences you will take away from this. But like I say, for a while there, it took me a while to really believe what I saw. It can shock you so much. It can change your whole outlook. And I had always been interested in the supernatural and the occult and all this stuff, but to actually see it in front of you, when you experience it, that's what makes it a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, see, unlike you guys, I've been around it my entire life. So I've always seen things and had things happen my entire life. So it was normal for me. But I was told it wasn't normal for everybody else. So I always had to keep quiet about it.
Mm-hmm.
I think, but you might be a very receptive person. I've said this a lot. William and I have talked about this a lot. The more sensitive you are, the more the paranormal will approach you. The more it will touch you, the more sensitive. And women especially are more sensitive to this than men, by the way. Their makeup makes them that way. That's very true. And that intuition is another part of it that men don't have, But the woman, the female, is the one that took care of the family. She's the most dangerous of the species. I agree completely with that. Because her job was to perpetrate continuum life. She's all about life. That was what it was all about. I have investigated many times with my dog, who I trained him to do things. I took his word over scientific instruments because his perception was much better than anything I could come up with. And women have a different perception of these things too. That's just part of the thing. And I've had a lot of people come at me and say, "Oh, I'm just getting sick and tired of the sensitivity stuff. It's just really bugging me. It's killing me." I said, "I'm sorry, but that's part of you, and you can't do anything about it. You got to learn to control it, learn to deal with it. But you're going to have to learn to live with it."
You're getting high fives from all of our female viewers tonight.
Well, sometimes it, I don't realize I'm picking up on things, but he'll notice my mood changing. And that's me picking up on the energy around it. It's not me, because I'm not like a mean person, or I don't snap at him or anything on a normal basis. But if something like that happens, he knows I'm picking up on something.
Getting back to what Tanya said. Getting back to what Tanya said real quick. Don't mean to cut you off, Dennis, brother. But when I was going through all my Native American ceremonies and stuff growing up, I never really introduced myself as a dark magic medicine man. I never, told anybody I was a black witch. Like, "Hey, how you doing? I'm Bill. I'm a black witch." But whenever I entered a room, the ones like Tanya would pick up on that energy, and they would definitely know I was there and that it wasn't good.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Tanya's talking completely 100% correct. There are people that have this gift, is what it is. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's the gift that if they can develop, they can
Mm-hmm.
open up so much more in their life.
Right.
It can go into medium. It can go into, astral projection. I mean, you can do so many different things with your spiritual strength.
Yeah.
But
it's almost like a repellent at times. There's certain people I would be like repelled from.
Mm-hmm.
I would want to have nothing to do with them.
I think I always come back to the word intent.
Mm-hmm.
The trouble comes
Your
from not
intent,
accepting.
their intent.
Yep.
The trouble comes from not accepting our gifts,
Mm-hmm.
or not embracing them. That's where the trouble really starts. If you keep pushing it aside, you're actually cutting off part of yourself.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really a foolish thing to do, because the whole makeup should be like the yin yang thing. The whole thing should be balanced. And when I've dealt with the demonic, and I've told people this a lot, and William and I talked about this a lot, they attack you in 4 different ways. They attack you mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and physically. And whichever way is the weakest, that's where they'll first go after you. Okay.
Yeah. And as much
to
as they attack me and Dennis, you
those
think you'd get
things,
tired.
those 4 components make up the living soul that you are.
Yeah.
And if you push back on any of that stuff, you're really cutting that off, that part of you off, and that's not a good idea. It never is.
So well said. I'm sitting here just going, yep. And
But I always trust my instincts with stuff like that. When I get around somebody, like you said, if you feel that, you don't need to be around this person, there's a reason. And I've learned that over the years.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
You can pick up on them. You need to pay. We often don't pay attention to that feeling we really get inside.
Yep.
We shove it aside when we shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
And like I
best
talked about,
example.
and I've mentioned this many times, that certain peoples like Native Americans or the Irish even were more closer to the land, more sensitive to these things, and they pay attention more to what they feel than some other type people do. So we all need to develop that more. That's a good safeguard to have. We need to pay attention.
very much so.
And it goes back to you guys have heard of the 7 chairs of the devil, right? Have you not heard the 7 chairs of the devil? That the devil has 7 chairs throughout the the world that he uses and he sits in. Okay, one of those chairs were actually on the property where I grew up.
Oh wow.
Okay. I'm not going to say the exact location because I know there's investigators out there that are looking for all 7.
Right.
And I don't mean to be disrespectful by doing that, but it goes back to what we talked about. There's some investigators out there that all they care about is the TV camera being on.
Exactly.
And, that's not how we are. Us guys sitting right here are not that way.
Yeah.
I could care less about the TV cameras being on, besides I have a radio. I have a face for radio, not TV. So, anyways, but, one of those devil's chairs were actually located on our property. And the reason I know this is because we had done ceremonies and a red mist would fill that chair like the devil himself was sitting in that chair. And one day when I was like 4 years old, I asked my mother, I said, "What's that chair for?" And she goes, "That's where the devil sits so I can talk to him."
Right.
So, there's so much out there. But from that experience alone, you'd think it would have terrified me, but I chose to embrace the teachings of what my parent was teaching me. Okay,
Certainly.
I chose, and it might have been, but if I hadn't have learned that, I'd be half the person I am today.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
So
Everybody has
had
their
to
path
learn.
to follow.
Yeah, I had to learn all the dark and the despair of and making dolls of people and putting curses on people and and this, that, and the other thing, and saying certain ceremonial chants and stuff to invoke the skinwalker, which here, let me give me 1 second, I'm gonna grab it.
Okay, great.
I'll take a swig while
Sounds good. I think I'll join you with that.
keep your whistle wet.
Mm-hmm.
When we do ceremony, we whenever we call forth an animal spirit or a spirit of Mother Earth, whether it's the spirit of water or the spirit of the pole pine tree or whatever it is, the pinyon pine, we embrace that subject, that actual point of contact. So we take the skinwalker and we don this, okay, to show that that's where we want to go. Okay, that's what we want to be. And there's a lot to the ceremony that I'm not going to get into because nobody needs to know about it.
Nobody knows. Yeah, you don't want it. There's people out there that will do that just to.
But I will say this: I've done the flesh offerings, I've done the bloodletting. Okay, so it's not a joke. Okay, these type of dark rituals exist. Okay,
they do.
And the whole problem right now we're having across the whole United States and Canada, the reason there's so much darkness going on is because we've allowed it to go on, because we've turned our backs on it when we saw cults out in the woods doing practices and opening up portals, and invoking demonic ceremonies throughout the country. This country has gone from being the light to being the dark, and now the light's got to take it back.
Correct. 100% right.
What we do in ceremony, we, by invoking these certain powers, we can do it either in the dark way or the way of the light. Okay. Now I've taken what I've learned and I've reversed it. Okay. Becoming a Christian, I've reversed it. I still do my ceremonies. Okay.
Sure.
But it's just ceremonies that I do for the light to protect other people. I have people all the time coming to me saying they're being harassed by a skinwalker or a dog man, and they'll call me or they'll text me, Nighthawk, can you help me? And I'll do my ceremonies and my prayers and stuff all night long, and I'll tell them, this is a certain time that entity left, and they'll be like, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. That I didn't have a problem after 11 o'clock at night that night. Yeah,
they feel it. They feel it go poof.
Yeah. So that's what I do now. And that's the whole purpose that Dennis and I started the whole podcast thing, is so we can help people. We can nurture people. We can let people know they're not alone. Okay, they're not alone at all in this because this is getting to be a struggle now for people with the light.
I agree.
And oppressive. So
that's exactly where I began. That's the way I began many years ago. I'm not into I've been offered my own TV show several times, and they wanted me to do it because I'm honest about it. But anyway, the whole thing is, it's not about the fame, it's not about the glory, it's not about any of that. It's about helping people. I wanted to offer a solution. Many of these groups out there, I call them social clubs. They're not really investigators. They're just, oh, we all got scared the other night. It was great. We ran and all this.
Yeah.
That's not. They're only in that for the gratification of it. I mean, it's very
Right.
selfish, but that's what
Yeah.
it's about. That's all
It's
they care
the
about.
ego.
I
It's
didn't
the
want to
ego.
be that way.
Yeah.
William's not like that. When you bring me a problem, I want to help you find a solution. I want to help you to find help
Yep.
with that, in whatever way it is. I've run the devil out of many places. Okay, I've seen demons face to face. I've met this darkness that he's talking about. It's there. It's real. Although some people don't want to believe it, doesn't make it any less real. But it's there. It's real, and it is a very viable enemy to us in many
Exactly.
ways. Not just in one way, but in many ways. And what are you in it for if you're not there to help people, to give them a solution to the answer or their questions? I love questions. There are no stupid questions, only stupid answers.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah. So that's what we were all about. Bring us a problem and we'll try to help you with it. I didn't want to. I've often said this: if I were in the same situation, I would want some help. I would want somebody to offer me some real help. And that's the way I've always looked at it.
Yeah. And that's the same way that we all are. We hope that other teams try to get to that point because, it's something that we can share with everyone. The knowledge that we pick up from these things and the things that we do to help other people clear their homes, clear their lives. And when we're done and we leave there or just walking out of that, it's amazing what people will say to you because they go, and all of a sudden it goes like, I can't believe how it feels in here. I can't believe the feeling of, wow, it's like totally different. But at the same time, you also have to teach them. You can't let them slide back. You have to give them a following and say, okay, don't do the things that led you to this.
Barry, people learn from example, and you got to be a good example. Okay, if you go out and set a bad example, that's not helping anything. That's only making it worse.
Right, 100% right.
I always say chaos breeds chaos.
Yep. That's exactly true. That's exactly true. We used to have a saying when I used to work that trash in, trash out. You can't make something out of trash. That's just the way it goes. It doesn't worth anything anyway. But that's very true. If you don't set that right example, and that's how we began when we were babies and children. We learned by example our parents gave us or the people around us. We're still doing that. We do it
every day.
Still up here. Yeah.
Doesn't matter how old I get, I'm learning every day because some of the things that as this battle continues, as I call it a battle because it is, because so many people choose to ignore, but when you sit in it and you look at it, the amount of things and the things that you see every day change so much, and you're like going, holy smack, what the heck? And then there's something else that we have to do to help with people. And you can get into a lot of problems. People don't understand. These paranormal teams come back with so many problems, and who do they call? They want to say, can you help me? Can you help me? And, but they still want to do some of the stupidest things like, let's get together and we'll put out the Ouija board, or we'll do a pendulum where we're going to put a human pendulum inside there. We're going to invoke a spirit inside of you, and you're going to move back and forth as we answer your questions. Mm-hmm. That's like going, are you kidding me? You know what you just did?
And the bad part about the Ouija boards is people don't know how to close those doorways.
Right, exactly. They leave them wide open.
Yep.
It's just
and when there's a place there, when there's a place where that ceremony is taking place, or that door opening, or whatever you want to call it, if you don't close that door, if you don't do the things, that land is stained for that period until it's cleansed. And I've done thousands of cleansings in these places and people's houses and people. Didn't
Right.
even animals, everything. I've even done a couple of liquor stores, although the spirits there were mostly in the bottle. But I have to tell you about that sometime. But anyway, one of these liquor stores I did actually was in Charleston, the oldest still running liquor store from the 16th century. It was actually where Blackbeard hung out at. But that's another story. But anyway, no matter where it takes, no matter where these places are stained, where these things have taken place, or these evil type spirits exist, somebody needs to go in and take care of business, okay? Because if you don't, eventually it's going to get worse. You know, the demonic is like a disease in many aspects. How many diseases do you ever see get better? They usually, unless they're treated or something like that, they just get worse and worse as time goes on. And that's what this is. You know? And I've counseled people all over the world about demonic problems. And you wouldn't believe how many different religions, how many different things. And it all comes down to this one fact: the demonic, they are bullies. They're just basically spiritual bullies. Don't take it off them. You don't have to take it off of them. If you do give it to them, that just makes them stronger. That makes them more emboldened, just like bullies. You know, we all ran into bullies at school. We know how they operate. The more you feed that beast, the bigger it will get. And that's what you don't want to do with the demonic. And the way to fight the demonic begins here. Like I said before, you don't give them any power. Don't give them any power. Don't give them any food to eat. Don't give them any leeway, because if you do, then you will have a very bad problem. And I've seen that happen so many times. But you know, when it comes to the demonic, the one thing that you got to remember is you are bigger than they are. You are better than they are. Really, basically, they want to get you lower than they are. That's where they want to put you.
Well, that's their whole
but
attempt.
don't let them do that. Yeah.
Yeah, people don't understand.
The one thing too, Bear and Dennis, that and Tanya and Billy, that we have to understand that we can't go up against these demonic forces without our faith.
Right.
Okay. You need to have your faith, and it's like I tell everybody too that, you know, I don't care what religion you are. Okay. I don't care what church you go to. Okay. Because until you've been to our Creator's Cathedral of the Pines, you haven't been to church. Okay. Yeah. Our Creator made this entire beautiful, vast world that we live in and that we are gifted to walk upon. And we're gifted to walk upon this world for one reason only, and that is so we can grow spiritually. Okay.
So true.
That's the same teachings that Jesus was teaching. Okay.
Exactly.
We have to learn how to take care of one another. We have to learn how to love unconditionally, just like that little dog next to you loves you whether you want. Okay.
Yep.
Whether you pet it or not. Okay. The greatest gift I was given, other than my beautiful wife, okay, and my children and my grandchildren. I can go on and on and on. The greatest gift. Oh yeah, and Dennis too, because Dennis is family. But the greatest gift I was given was given the gift of being able to interact with animals. Okay, being able to, it's weird because, you know, I'll be outside in the summer or the springtime or the fall, and my wife will say, "Oh, there's a rabbit over there." Well, like the other day, she said there was a rabbit between our houses, and she didn't know whether it was hurt or not, because we have these huge, you know, birds of prey around here.
Right.
And I mean huge. I mean, we're talking 12-foot wingspans. Anyways, I go over between the houses, and I'm looking, and there's the rabbit, and I start talking to the rabbit, you know, And this is something that I've done ever since I came back from dying the first time. I've learned to talk to the other beings that walk upon this earth and are gifted to walk upon this earth. Okay, because it goes back to what we are taught, in the beginning, being Native Americans, is everything is connected. So as I'm talking to it, I'm getting closer and closer and closer, and usually it goes from like being 30 feet away to where I was 3 foot away from it. Okay. And normally a wild rabbit's going to take off. Okay. Well, this rabbit actually looked at me the whole time as if it understood what I was saying, that I was just checking it out to make sure it was fine. And this rabbit did the exact same thing that my wife's little Jacob dog does. It stretched out and drug its hind legs behind it, just to kind of show that it was all perfectly fine. And it turned and looked at me after the stretch, and it just hopped a couple places away from me, and I turned and walked away.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the kind of connection I'm talking about that we need to continue to make, and we need that connection. We need to have that connection with human beings, and that's the problem. We don't have that.
That's exactly right. That's where we all went wrong. We've separated off from that.
We used to, though.
Back in the old days,
exactly.
We used to care more about it. We don't know our neighbors. We don't know anything anymore,
And the faith is the weapon against this. Your faith, as William said, is that weapon you use. One of my favorite biblical passages is Romans 13:12. The night is far spent, the day is at hand. Let us, therefore, put on the armor of light. What is that armor of light? That's faith, and that will protect us, and it will help us interact with other people. When you see people for what they are, and they're not just a commodity, they're not just something. There you go. And
this right here,
you gotta have armor.
Yeah. A lot of it.
That's why you gotta have it on your phone. Definitely, I have one on mine. So
they stay in the phone.
When you see people as being human like you are. You see them in a different light. You can empathize with them. That's what I've often said about the shark. If you ever look in the eye of a shark, and I've looked in the eyes of murderers and seen this very same inhuman blackness there. It has no feeling to it at all. It has no empathy. The shark will just eat you up. He's being a shark, though. That's just what he does.
That's his nature.
But, I've seen people that got in that situation. I've looked in the eyes of evil, and I've seen it looking back, and it's real. And I've studied a lot. I'm retired law enforcement. I've understood that a lot of times you have to go and study the criminal cases, the things that you see, try to understand the criminal mind, And that is the number one attribute of serial killers and criminals, is you become something other than human to them. You're nothing that they can empathize with anymore. They lose that emotional feeling to you. And we have to really guard ourselves against doing something like that. We tend to make numbers out of people and forget their names. And that's a bad thing. That's a sad thing.
That is a sad thing. And that's what's happened to us all. We've all become a number. We've all become a product. They've sold us. They've bought us. They've done all kinds of different things to us.
But if you look around, everybody's head is in their phone. They don't look at other people. They don't talk to other people. They're on their phones.
That's it. That's what somebody said. Let's have a party and we'll all get together one night and look at our phones.
Yeah, exactly. You don't say anything. You don't communicate anything.
That's what society has come to, unfortunately, I'm afraid.
Unfortunately, it has.
But, I said this. We were talking about UFOs not long ago, and I have had some experience with UFOs, so as William. It's a very interesting thing. But, a lot of people never see what goes on in the sky because they're not looking up. You can't see the stars if you don't look up. That's just the way that goes.
Yeah, that's exactly right. As many years as I spent in ufology and investigating UFOs and aliens and dealing with abductees all the time. It's amazing. Nowadays, I am starting to see more people that are paying attention. And then also with the different kinds of equipment that we have, even when they, what's the first thing that we have? How are we going to capture more UFOs? By that dang little cell phone, because they've increased the power of that darn camera in there.
Mm-hmm.
And now you have, because the human eye sees this much. And we remember we used to think about a long time ago, you say, well, if you didn't see it and your camera caught it, it's just dust or something else. Forget it. That's not. But we didn't understand the study of how the human eye only sees this much, but the camera lens sees more than the human eye. And when you get into those areas, and now we're using full spectrum cameras, we're using all kinds of different things. So when you aim up the sky and you look up there and you see a gigantic pterodactyl flying around, or a dragon or anything else, because they're real, folks. I don't care what you say. I've seen them. I know they're there. And they're out
That's
there.
That's what I said, Bear. Bear, I told that to somebody the other day. If you see a UFO, first make sure it's not a drone. Okay. I've
Right,
seen some very
exactly. Make
interesting
sure it's not a
drones.
drone. Exactly.
Yeah. So we've got a lot. We've got a lot to assimilate nowadays, more than we used to.
We do.
But
We do.
I've told people that this is fascinating. If you've never done it, have a sky watch one night. You just go out, get a nice lawn chair on a good clear night, and just take a different quadrant of the sky for about 2 hours, and just watch and just see what you will be amazed at what's going on up there.
Mm-hmm.
It's very.
I agree with you. We've done several sky watches, and that's one of the most important things to do. If you spend the time to look up there, you become personally involved with being able to identify certain things. And then you'll know the stuff that is not the real thing. When my granddad and everything taught me to go hunting, they'd say, go out in the woods, sit down, and just nature.
Now you got thousands of satellites, Starlink and all that up there. You've got to understand what you're looking at before you run off screaming aliens, because
exactly.
A lot of it does that. But things like I have seen and William has seen were definitely not in that category. They were ambiguous.
Exactly.
They were full in your face kind of stuff. But that's what I like. I like full in your face, and I don't know about that.
I enjoy that too until it gets on me.
That's it.
When it licks you in the face, it's a little difficult. But when we see the things that we've seen, and we've been blessed to see these things, but it's hard to relate to other people, because the first thing that they want to go is, there you are, you're a conspiracy theory, you believe this, you believe that, but it's just part of what is actually in this world. This world is so special, and there are so many parts that make up to it, and the paranormal and the supernatural is so much a part of it, because we're supernatural beings.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Well, I go one step further, Bear. I get people really off kilter when I tell them this, that I'm a flat earther, and
right.
How can you not believe we don't live on a marble? Okay, as Isaiah 24, King James Version says it. That God turned the world upside down. Okay,
yeah.
How can you turn a marble upside down?
Can't.
Exactly.
And that gets to the point of where you're looking at the great deceptions that have been played on mankind, from the way that they have presented things with a camera, round lens, round shots, round certain things. But then at the same time, you also have to remember that this land is a lot larger than what we're known of it. They have kept you in this little fishbowl and the stuff that's outside of it.
Yep.
And when you get to the Antarctic and the ice walls and the other things beyond that, people will go, and I truly believe in the next year, you're going to hear some things that are going to fly people right to the moon.
Yeah.
And then we have a special thing that we're going to have to retrain them and help them understand all this stuff because.
Well, I mean, the one thing too you got to think of too, how come pilots are trained to fly and navigate on a flat Earth scale? Every pilot you talk to, every commercial pilot you talk to or a private pilot you talk to, you ask them if they believe the Earth is a globe. Some of them will say, oh, yeah, because they have to protect their jobs.
Right.
Every pilot that I've ever talked to says the Earth is flat.
We've been told a lot of lies all of our lives, unfortunately. Like, the very famous one I was telling this to William the other day is, oh, the whole world's been explored. We've explored it. That's not true. That's a lie. I was taught that when I was young, but I found out it wasn't true. But I can go along with what Edgar Allan Poe said. Leave nothing that you see and half of what you hear. Especially when it comes to the government. Okay.
Yes, exactly.
Talking about going to, Mars or the moon or whatever. We hadn't even finished exploring here. There's depths that we've never even been to.
Yep.
One of the most scariest places is in our backyard. Yeah, people don't realize it. Mammoth Cave, to me, and the cave systems are probably some of the weirdest part of the world that is just out there. And the things that are around, there are creatures, I'm sorry, there are rake-like conditions. There are rake-like people that live down under here. Exactly. There are other individuals that live there, and every once in a while they pick you can see them come up and deal with them. And it's very unusual. People will say, oh, that's ridiculous. There's nothing underneath there. But in the truth of the matter,
the whole world. That's a whole world that's been unexplored. We don't know what's beneath our feet.
Exactly.
There could be
the largest cave system in the world has only been 3% of it has been discovered. Has ever been gone.
And as soon as you start trying to explore the cave systems, because I have caves all around me too, Shenandoah, and the whole area, because I'm in the Shenandoah Valley, of Virginia. And as soon as you start exploring cave systems and stuff, the government shuts you down
immediately.
They'll come in with their rules and regulations, and you're not allowed to do this. This is even though this is private property, this is government land. They'll serve you with an injunction to stop you from exploring. They'll do this, that, and the other thing. I come across it with cryptid hunts. I've come across it with all kinds of cryptid hunts. They try to shut me down. Because
I've had black helicopters show up, drones, black SUVs. I've been followed for about a year. I was followed by these things for no reason. I mean, I talk about it in my book.
I've been followed.
When you get their attention, they watch you very closely.
Yep. Yeah, that's one of the things that I can definitely tell you about, and people will talk to me about it all the time. That's the first thing they say is, geez, there's that black helicopters again. And I remember this one lady told me one time. She says, I started hanging around with you, and then they start coming to my house. So I made up this big sign that says "Bear's not here" and laid out my frame.
I went out. I tried to confront them. Actually, they were buzzing my house in the SUV. I went out to actually confront them, and they stopped down the end of the street, turned around, took off. They quit that night. They came back next night. So there you go.
Yeah.
The latest time that I was followed, I sent Dennis the video and the picture of it. The last time I was followed, because they followed me and my wife right to the grocery store, and the one guy got out and stretched and showed his gun that he was wearing and all this. So I got out of my truck and I stretched and showed him my bigger gun I was wearing. So he decided to get back in the vehicle, and they drove away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But that's what we're coming up against, because the shadow government, these forces that are controlling us currently are trying to manipulate us and make us think, oh, we're out of our mind, we're crazy if we think this is going on, you know.
Right.
And it's not that way at all. You're not crazy. You're not
They're playing a little game, but that's what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly. They're, you know, and we have been trained our whole lives to believe this garbage they've been feeding us. They tell us what kind of products to buy. They tell us what kind of schools to go to. They tell us what we can wear. I mean, you know,
what we eat, what we drink.
Yeah, it's absolutely absurd.
Now they want to tell us what to believe, and they want to tell us what to speak and to understand and follow the rules. That's what they want.
Exactly.
That's complete control.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And,
you know, and it's just getting really bad nowadays because researchers and investigators can't get out and do what they want to do. You know,
I'm not trying to get political. Right. I'm not going to get political here tonight. But just the other day, they arrested a guy in Canada because he said that there was such a thing as a man and a woman. Okay, if they're beginning crackdown on stuff like that, that's just the beginning. Okay, it's going to get worse.
Exactly.
It's going to get worse because they're all about control. It's all about control.
Subliminal message.
Believe.
There you go. You know, it's 100% believe it. That is the truth. You know, and it's funny when you know, you're speaking of the feet and you know, the Bigfoot and the other cryptids that are out there. You know, it's funny, and I got to ask you this, and I don't know if you guys have you had a lot of, just recently been hearing a lot about werewolves?
Oh yeah,
not dogmen, werewolves.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, I mean, big difference.
I know the difference.
I know you guys know the difference, but
you're getting on one of my favorite subjects.
This guy here loves that subject. So you go ahead, Dennis.
Yeah.
The werewolf to me is nearly not a cryptid. Okay, I don't classify it as dogman or chupacabra or Bigfoot. He is a supernatural being, and the big difference between the werewolf and dogman. Dogman is always 100% of the time dogman, but the werewolf could be your next door neighbor.
Yep.
And he becomes that. He's a shapeshifter through magical black, usually dark magic. He can put on a wolf pelt or skin and all that. But most of the time he's walking around looking like you and me. That's the interesting part about the werewolf. The vampire is always the vampire. Okay. Right. Sasquatch is always Sasquatch. But the werewolf can be two different things. And that's the interesting part of it. But he, to me, is one of the most interesting supernatural creatures. And Ed and Lorraine Warren actually had a very interesting case with a man who was a werewolf. He actually tore a steel door off of a jail in Britain.
Mm-hmm.
The disease that's called lycanthropy. It's supposed to be a mental disease to a certain extent. But here's the interesting thing about it. If you, and I think William being a Native American knows what I'm about to talk about here with the skinwalker thing is like that. If you believe so hard in your mind, you become that animal, then the outward appearance of you will change to that too. I have actually seen people under demonic influence, their faces change and transform. I know you've seen photographs of that. It's an amazing thing to see. I've actually seen it happen in front of me. The eyes go black. The face begins to contort to different things. I have seen people crawl around the floor like snakes and act like animals. I mean, it's really weird stuff.
That's a
But
regular
if
Friday
you
night.
believe, if the mind believes so much in that thing, you can become that to a certain extent. And I think that's got a lot to do with the werewolf thing, because dark magic is based mostly on belief in something.
Exactly,
Whether it's usually a bad intention, though, it's something with bad intention. And you know, I was talking to somebody the other day about the big link between the phantom black cats, the big black cats that people see, and a witchcraft link between that. I can tell you about the Tajern, which is a ceremony that they used to do in Scotland, which is a horrible thing to even think about, where they would actually roast live cats alive. I mean, we're talking about house cats on a spit, one after another, after another, after another, hundreds of them on a night, to perform a spell from this awful pain and trauma that would attach and hook up with demonic powers in order to transform themselves into large black cats.
Right.
So there's a distinct connection with a lot of that. So you have to wonder many times when you run into this stuff, what is real? You know, is it really witchcraft or dark magic of some kind? You know, and by the way, here's what I told somebody the other day. Witchcraft is not a belief. Witchcraft is a job. It's a craft. Okay, it's not a belief system. Now the pagans have a belief system. They have, you know, they worship gods and goddesses and nature and all that stuff. But that's not witchcraft. Witchcraft is a profession. Okay, that's what it basically is. And most of the time, it's a bad profession. It's not for good intentions.
Right.
But that's where the werewolf comes in, and that's what fascinates me. He's a lot different than any other so-called cryptid, if that's what you want to tag him. He's not really that. A cryptid is really an unknown animal. That's basically what it is.
And what Dennis said about the belief, if you have a belief in something and it's strong enough, okay, you can manifest it. Okay, I've had cases that I've done where people say their house is haunted and all this, that, and the other thing, and or, you know, there's a certain cryptid outside my window every night, you know, and watching me, and I'll go and I'll investigate, and I, you know, being Native American, I look for sign. You know, I'm a tracker first and foremost. You know, I'm going to get out with my military background, and I'm going to track and see what I can find. And, you know, tracking is more than just one level. You know, on ground level, you track on trees and shrubs, and, you know, if you're a good tracker, you know how to track. But, you know, 50% of the time, I don't find anything. Okay. So what it is, it's their manifestation through subconscious ways that they're creating this. Okay. Because that's the one thing we all have the power to do. That's one of the powers that I was getting to earlier in the beginning of the podcast, is we have that power to manifest things. Okay. And a lot of 100%. People don't know that. A lot of people don't know that. And that's why when Dennis said your fear, when the demonic feeds off of your fear, they want you to manifest more fear.
Because exactly. And they eat that.
They feed off it. It's a cycle. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's a vicious cycle. And, you know, there's an old saying, be careful what you believe, for belief can make it so.
Oh, exactly. And what you wish for may happen. That is all the things but as we grow closer and closer inside of ourselves and know more about the relationship that we have, there are certain things that help us along that way. You can manifest things to help other people and help yourself to become better in helping other people and to allow them to do things instead of doing it in the dark and evil way. Right. It has to do a lot with your frequency levels. If your frequency level is one of love and higher, you don't have to worry about that. If your frequency level is in the fear factor down in the 200s in this area, then of course you're going to have a lot of problems. And that's where.
Well, you know, I've said, Bear, that is the number one way to fight evil, You do it with good deeds, positive
Exactly.
and light against the darkness. Definitely, that's your bulwark there. That's the shield that protects you. It's a lot in your mind and your belief system. Your faith is hooked up to it. If you're all of this and you got it just right, then nothing can bother you. Nothing can come against you. I've had people come up to me and say, "Mr. Carroll, can I be walking down the street and boom, get possessed by demons?" I said, "No, it don't work that way. It don't work that way. You have to open the door to the demonic some way or another, whether it be addiction or drugs or alcohol, whatever the case may be. If you open that door, then you're just letting them in. Like the doorways we talked about with the portals. There are doors to you as well as there's doors in the universe. And it has been proven beyond scientific fact that there are such things as portals. Okay, they've created them in the lab. They know that they exist. But there is a portal in you too. If you open your life up to these things, then what do you expect is going to happen? You know? Here's the thing about it, and I've told this to little kids a lot. I used to do a lot of school presentations. I'd go do talks at schools and all that, and a lot of times they would come up at the end. They love ghost stories, you know, and they would come up at the end and say, "Mr. Carroll, do you believe in ghosts?" Well, I didn't want to scare them. I just said, "I believe in ghost stories." Okay, but a lot of times you have to understand your attitude towards this is what activates a lot of this stuff. And like William and I are saying, your belief system, if you believe something so hard, you can make it come about. You can be self-prophesizing, as they used to say. You can make a prophecy be self-fulfilling. Even your attitude be that way. Have you ever heard anybody that's just so down and say, "Oh, I'm always doing bad, but it's this and this and this." They're always down on everything. What kind of a life? That's just the kind of life they're leading because that's their outlook on it. But if you're positive, you know, and do good things, think on good things, you know, that's what you're going to get back most of the time. You know, that's just the way that goes. And I've often told children, when you open your door at night, remember this: the darkness does not fall in. The light falls out. The light is something. It's substance. The darkness is nothing. You know, it's nothing. You can keep it out with light. And that's the way that works.
And it is so true. And I don't think you're going to fear an objection on anybody. We're all sitting here going, "Wow, he nailed it on the head, didn't he?" I mean, that's what it is. You know, there are so many different things. I'd like to go to the chat room. I know there's people in there that have to have questions for you. Have you guys been keeping an eye on it? In chat room, I'm sorry. These guys are just so special. I'd love to have them back every other show, because there's so much you can learn and so much you can see from the type of gentlemen that have spent their lifetimes in it and have done it. And that's what we want to try to bring to you all. You know, if you're looking for the truth and the paranormal, you're looking for the supernatural stuff and everything else. And I was watching one of their shows, and I got to tell you something. There's something that really clicked with me, and I loved it when I heard it, and I'm changing everything that I ever do into it. I'm going to steal it from you if you guys don't do something with it.
Go ahead.
But when you guys are talking about paranormal and you're talking about supernatural, what we have become and what the true factor of it is forget about the paranormal investigator. You know, you're only scratching the surface if you're only doing ghosts, if you're only doing this. And so many people have only done one or two things. You've got to take it all in. So what we've become is, and I've heard you guys quote this thing, is supernaturalists.
Mm-hmm.
We are now.
You know, I've often said, Barry, I don't want just a slice of the pie. I want the whole pie.
That's right. Exactly.
That's the way that goes. You know, and for people to say, "Oh, I don't do that," or "I don't think about that," you're really cutting yourself off from a lot of the interesting things. You know, you need to take the whole thing for what it is. And like I said earlier, it is all, and William has said this many times too, it's all connected. It really is.
It's all connected. I agree with you 100%. It's all
right. They always want to put labels on things, you know, like empaths or psychics, or it's not about just one thing.
Thank you.
And there's not a name for it. It is what it is. We all just do things differently.
Yep.
Right,
And you're not
exactly.
limited to one thing.
Right, and you limit your scope that way. You sort of cut way back on your universe. You
Exactly.
know?
But that's something
You're in a
I've always
box.
said. There's not like a name for it. It just
But,
is.
I
you know,
said
as
that
you-
to somebody the other day. Usually, if we're not cremated, we end up in a box at the end of our life. Let's not live in that box until then. You know?
Right.
Let's
That's right,
stay out of that box until then.
exactly.
Yeah, that's the way Dennis and I do things too. Dennis and I will agree. We always look outside the box. You know, if you're gonna walk in this world with blinders on, you know, then you're missing out on all this glory. Okay.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
and that's the thing. You know, the same goes with the paranormal. You know, the supernaturalists like Dennis and I and Bear, we believe that, you know, you have to think outside the box for answers for everything. Okay.
Yeah.
It's like Dennis said earlier, you know, you won't catch me out in the woods with a stick hitting the back of a tree, okay, to get Bigfoot to come in. Okay. You just as much as you won't see me shooting a laser up in the sky to call a UFO in. Okay.
Right.
Because, you know, they're gonna know what you want because they know.
Yeah.
They know before you even set that laser up.
Exactly.
Some of the neatest things about it is that, you know, and I tell people, you know, when you go outside, you look up and you go, I know you're up there. Give me a sign. And what are you going to see? They're going to answer you back. People go, that's crazy. No, it's not. It's fact.
No.
You know, they're part of this sphere, this universe.
We're all connected.
Everything's connected, and
exactly.
you know, it's so hard for people to get there. But that's what happens, and that's why we limit ourselves, because just using the paranormal part. If you limit yourself to be in that box we're talking about, and you say, "Nope, that's an impossibility. This is the way it is."
Something else, Bear, that people get hung up on, and this really bugs me. I'm talking about bugging stuff tonight. This really bugs me about people. They all about evidence. Okay. Oh, you got to look at this. You got to look at this. Look what I got. They also caught up on it. Or I got this new gadget here. You need to get this thing or something. They're all about that, and they're losing the real emphasis on this. My job as a paranormal investigator is not to convince you of anything.
Right.
That's up to you. I mean, I could get a picture or two with me and Elvis and Bigfoot, and you're never going to believe that, you know?
Yep.
I mean, that's the way that goes. And I've had so many, and William has too. We've had a lot of people come, look at this picture, look at this photograph. You know, we can't vouch for it. We can't verify it because we didn't take it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's just the way that goes. But it's not all about the evidence. It's not all about
and a lot of these experiences that everybody's having, and I'll say this to everybody in the chat, that it's meant for a one-on-one experience. Yes. It's meant for the person that's experiencing it, not the whole world to know about it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Growing up, I never recorded anything. I never took pictures. It was what it was when it was.
Yeah.
Yep.
You get hung up on trying to prove something to somebody. You're just beating your head up against the wall. Okay.
Right.
How many times have we been told by somebody about an experience?
I used to tell that to people in investigations. Don't waste time, okay? Time is precious. Don't waste it on stuff like that.
That's like trying to change somebody's aspects on their religion, you know?
Yeah.
But religion.
It's funny.
Think about it, though, guys. Okay. Religion was made by man, not by God.
Right.
Okay. So that's another way to separate the people from experiencing the full effect that they're allowed to experience.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. It's when you understand that you are the temple, you are the one that's in it. I mean, everything is within you. That's it. I mean, you are the part.
I've often said people are very bad about trying to put God in a box. You know, oh, it should be this way, it should be that way. You know, don't fall into that trap. The best way to approach God, and I'm gonna get a little religious here, is one-on-one and personal thing That's a real relationship. Okay, and if you and I are dating the same gal, and you take turn with her one week, and then I get a week with her, we're still going through that gal. We're not doing a real personal relationship thing.
Right.
You know, it's not personal.
Right.
And that's the way it should be with God. That's the way you should worship your deity. You should have a one-on-one personal thing. And it's so personal, I've always said, you really don't talk about it. You don't put it forth. That's something that just like, you know, that your family thing is personal. You don't air your dirty laundry. You don't tell everything that goes on.
Right.
But some people on Facebook don't believe that, by the way. They get on there, oh, I'm going down here and buy this, and let me show you the sandwich I ate, you know.
Yeah.
It's all about showing something. I was never that way, and I always felt that religion, I was brought up that way. The religious aspects of our life, you respect everybody's religion, their belief, because that's their own personal belief, you know?
Yeah.
That's the way you look at it.
Yep.
That's it.
It's perfect. It's perfect. Well, go back into the
Billy,
chat room. We've been asking for.
No, I'm enjoying listening to you guys.
Yeah,
and I'm smiling because I already know everything you're saying. Been there, done that.
We beat them.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Last week, you know, Bear went on a glitch, okay? And, you know, my wheels had been turning about like deja vu. Where does it come from? You know, so my brain's going, it could be this, it could be that. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to ask the chat room what they think and see what they come up with to get their wheels to thinking like I'm thinking, you know? So what are your thoughts on deja vu? Where do you think it comes from? I mean, it's so broad.
Well, then you're gonna start getting me talking quantum physics now.
Exactly. See, and my brain has went there too.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's like I've always said. Well, let me get my blackboard here.
It's teaching time.
I do have a blackboard.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna explain deja vu to everybody. Oh, now I got black fingers. Okay, let's see here. All right, we're gonna take 3 different colors of pens. Okay, I got 3 different color markers. Okay. Oh, I'll never do that again. I took them all off at once. Okay.
It's amazing.
Anyways, okay, we got 3 different color markers. Okay, we have the universe. Okay, the endless, vast time, no time restrictions, no limitations. Matter doesn't exist. Okay, you take the markers. See if I can do this again. You see how they overlap?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There's parts of them that overlap. Okay. And it's not always the same thing. Okay. Not always the same location. We have to think of that as deja vu. Okay. Where those timelines overlap is where the deja vu comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Somebody in another dimension that's named Tanya is having an experience that Tanya in this timeline hasn't experienced yet.
Yep.
Okay. So, you know, until this Tanya in this timeline experiences that,
Then you have that crossover.
She's not going to have that deja vu until that crossover happens.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's called, really, and I've termed this before, is it being like an intersection that you come to, you know? Mm-hmm. And I talked to somebody one time years ago, and they told me, said there was a bad accident at this intersection. And they said, you know, when I was there just a moment before that happened, you know. Why wasn't it me? You know, it wasn't meant for you to be there, you know.
Right.
But But that's what these intersections like William are talking about, these timelines that overlap. And I think a lot of these creatures that have been reported, a lot of these things, and even some ghosts that people talk about, and all of this may be crossovers. They may be walkthroughs through this intersection that we talk about. And if you've ever heard, I know you know about ley lines. And ley lines are nothing but crisscross parallel lines of energy, earth energy around us. Wherever they cross, weird things happen. Why? Because that's where the energy buildup is. And that could be very much like these timelines that William's talking about. If they overlap and they cut off, weird things like deja vu. Let me tell you a quick experience I had with deja vu. Sort of like that. Sort of a little bit like deja vu. When I was a young guy, I had a dream one night. It was a very vivid dream that I was in a car going down the road, and this little boy came down off of the hill on a bicycle. It was a red bicycle, I remember it well. And the little boy crossed the road right in front of us and went down the hill, you know how a kid would do on a bicycle. And I woke up. Well, a few days later, and I worked with this company that we used to do re-upholstering, and we would go pick up items of furniture to be upholstered, And I was sitting in the car with this guy. We were going there, and we come to this street, and all of a sudden, I had that deja vu line, Oh, I've been here before. I never had been there to this certain thing. But all of a sudden, I knew this place. And I told the guy, I said, stop, slow down. A little boy is fixing to come right down that hill. And sure enough, before I could get it out, here he comes flying down the hill on a bicycle right in front of us. Yep. And the guy stopped, looked at me and said, that was weird. I said, you don't know the half of it.
That's the truth.
Okay. The blue line is Bear. The red line is Tanya and Millie. Okay. All right. The green line is the timeline. And remember, there's no restriction on time and space.
Right.
You see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
You're going to have deja vu quite often. Okay. Right. You're going to have deja vu quite often because other experiencers, right. Other experiencers are going to experience, you are going to experience other things in another dimension or a timeline. Okay.
Yeah, remember.
And that's where the deja vu.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And that's one of the reasons why, what we have, what we call our family, and we know people that are become our family.
Now,
because our family is vast. It's always willing to grow because when people get to the point, that's what we're talking about earlier. Everybody's family. We're all part of this world. We're all trying to benefit and be better with it and everything else. But we also know that our souls are complete energies and we've lived forever. There is really death as we know it is not death. It's something that's been created. So your energy still continues on.
Right.
And it's like going when you come with these people, we know through our experiences that we've been elsewhere together during that time, through this time, as this time zone, as these endless timelines go. Every once in a while they do this and they do bleed together and you tumble with this and you have had experiences together in the past. And sure enough, in the future, you're here for one purpose.
The bear in another dimension or another timeline could be richer than Elon Musk or something,
Exactly.
It's an interesting thought to think about,
right.
Certain things that change in our history can change the output of that timeline. That's amazing. And here's another interesting thing. I'm going to get a little bit religious again here, okay? Yeah. Here's an interesting thing. I've had a lot of people say, why didn't God answer this prayer? Or why didn't God do this? Or why didn't God do that? Maybe he can't, because, God has set certain rules for himself, okay? Maybe he can't do something when you want him to do something because it might screw the whole timeline.
Right.
Yeah.
But guys,
and he knows better than to do that. Yeah.
Part of the experience is when you find yourself is you growing into that and having that experience.
Yeah.
So you can't interfere with that experience. That's what makes you more open to the experiences, more open to it all, because life is supposed to be lived and enjoyed and learned all continually. And you take that with you as you go. And we've done it many times. And that's the part where we're at today.
right.
You know, this is all changing. It's all moving forward. And I think that we're all supposed to be here today for this one purpose. You know, we all come together, whether we've been here a million times, whatever it is, but we're all here to see this. We're supposed to be here. We're supposed to be talking about this tonight. We're supposed to be adding this to a person so that they can also see and understand some of this stuff.
Have you ever in a crowd saw somebody, a stranger that somebody you've never seen before, and you say that person looks familiar to me? I think I've seen that person. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's another thing about the timelines. I think you may have met that person, and you being the being that you are, you still retain that from some other timeline. You know, that's weird to think about.
Yeah.
Holly's
it's the same thing when you're dealing with the paranormal and they know you.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
That's the part when you have to really sit back, and that's what blows your mind, is when they understand you from another timeline also.
Right.
Yeah.
You ever see it? Have you ever had that happen before?
And that could be a lot had to do with the doppelganger effect too.
Sure, exactly. A doppelganger effect is one of those strange things, and until you actually experience one, it is quite unique. And the weird thing about it for me is that I'll tell you a quick story. One day I'm driving down the road.
Let me tell you right quick about an interesting case I had. A doppelganger. Speaking of doppelganger.
Sure.
I had a woman contact me, and she said, I had a very strange incident happen with my daughter the other day. She told me about this. I went to her house. She told me about this. My daughter came stomping in the room. She was supposed to be like coming from work or something. But it said my daughter comes stomping in the room, and she was mad, slammed the door, went to her room and just started tearing everything up in the room, knocking lamps over and all that stuff. I could hear it. I could hear it. I've seen her go up the stairs. So I seen her. She was mad, and said she went up the stairs and opened the door to her daughter's room. There's nothing there. Nobody's there. And the place is messed up, And about this time, the front door opens and the daughter comes in. And the mother said to her daughter, why are you mad? What are you mad about? What's wrong with you? And the daughter said, what do you mean, Mother? I just got home. I just got from work. What do you mean I'm mad about something? She said, no, you came here. You went in your room and you trashed your room. Go look at it. She said, Mother, I've been at work. Okay. Now that to me sounded very much like William talking about crossing the timeline.
Yep.
Right. Yep.
Now, Holly had a question, and she said, is that how psychic abilities happen?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I stepped on Holly's question. What was she saying?
She said, is that how psychic abilities happen?
Well, as far as timelines go and deja vu, well, deja vu is just an opening peek at what your abilities are psychic wise,
Right.
and having your spiritual strength. I mean, it's just a mere, fabric, thin piece of time that happens in someone's life. But you take that and you can develop that, yes. But then again, you're dealing with the whole quantum universe thing and the quantum entanglement theory, where all the timelines converge at one point in time. Now, when all the timelines converge at one point in time in our lives, in our 3D world here, that's the time you're going to be driving down the road and you're going to have this feeling like you drove through a spiritual wall. Okay. And things seem different. Things sound different. Things might be a little off, you know. Take for instance the other month. I'm driving down the road here locally, and the local college that's had the same name for the last God knows since they were made back 45 years ago. It's had the same name. I drove past it, saw the name, came back through the following day, the same route, same time. The college name was changed. You don't change college names overnight.
Exactly.
Okay. What happened? Did I go from one dimension to another temporarily? Yeah, I think so, because those timelines and those dimensional lines crossed. And I drove through what they call a quantum entanglement. So,
And you know, when those timelines cross, could that not be sometimes a naturally occurring portal of some sort?
Right. And do you think that it's possible for somebody to open it? Like, if they
yeah.
have the right mindset to just...
I believe that portals, I believe, Tanya, the portals can be opened by the mind. They can be opened by certain ceremonies. They can be opened by mechanical means, scientific ways. There are different ways, I believe, these portals maybe naturally occur.
Right.
So there may be different ways these portals, and that might be one of them when the timelines converge or they cross. That might precipitate the opening of a portal type thing. Yeah. We're talking about the woo here. Okay, that's woo. Weird stuff.
That's the woo. That's the woo.
That's a possibility.
Hey guys, you know, we could go on forever and ever, and I appreciate it. Unfortunately, I've got to close down. When Mama comes knocking at the door and says, I got to go to bed, and because I'm not in my studio tonight and I'm in the bedroom because of the way I've been for the last couple of months, but we're doing this in the bedroom. So when Mama calls and knocks on the door and goes, hey, we got to run. I got to go to bed. So I'm going to have to cut it short, but I want to talk, I want to thank the people. I didn't get a chance to look in the chat room. Holly's in there. Beth Collinsworth is in there. Frankie's in there. Beth Allen's in there. There are so many wonderful people. Brandon, how you doing tonight? Ada Cox, how are you? So glad that you're here. Mike Walker, brother, how are you doing? There are so many different, so many people out here. Frankie Lynn, how are you? So many people. Matt McDonald, how's it going, buddy? Just want to thank you all for coming here and enjoying this conversation with these much great people. It is so wonderful to have you all here and to experience this piece of life with you and be able to talk to you about some of these weird things. And I'd love to have you guys back on. I know that there's health problems between certain ones of us, and we're all having things. But yeah. But if there's things we can do for you, and by the way, if you guys want to do something, I'm going to give away tonight for anybody here. I've got this beautiful Into the Far coffee mug, and of course on the back side of it, it's got that wonderful thing that I say at the beginning of every show. On the back of it, Tanya and Billy make these things up. They are wonderful. It is free to the next person that can. Guys, think of a question for me that gives me an answer, and I'll. And we'll
okay. How about what was the let's see, what was the way that I described making that connection to getting your spiritual power?
Sounds like a great deal.
Better type fast.
Yeah. Anybody
I feel like I hear that Jeopardy thing in the background.
You know, and they're all going, oh damn, this is live. I can't go back and replay that.
Potting toes in grass.
Oh,
Yeah, see it.
Yeah.
I think
Oh,
Supernatural
got it.
300.
Holly, yes, you
Yep.
are correct.
Wait,
Oh,
there's
you
a
got it.
just a little. There was one other step to it though.
After a lightning storm.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. After a lightning storm, you got it exactly.
Yep.
100% right. And Holly, what we'll do is I will send you a private message on Facebook. I think that's the best way for us to do it. And I will ask you for your address, and I'll box this baby up to you, and I will send it to you.
And let me know what her address is, Bear. Okay, so I can send her a buckskin medicine bag.
We'll gladly do it.
Awesome.
Gladly. There you go. Holly, you're paying excellent attention, and you are the woohoo club for tonight. Hey guys, thank you so much. I got to run just through a few things with you. Before you go, again, here is the shows. Watch it. You guys want to talk about them Saturday and Sunday on YouTube, early in the morning, the Brew Crew. Correct?
Yep.
And then Into the Rabbit Hole.
Friday night, 10 o'clock.
Friday night. You have Monsters and what's the other one? I'm sorry, I didn't get that one.
We have Into the Red Rabbit Hole Friday night, every other Friday night at 10 p.m. Eastern. And then we have Becoming Monsters every other Friday night at 10 p.m. Yeah, we alternate.
Monsters. That's one I could remember. And then again, Dennis's books, they're available at Amazon and, of course, at Barnes & Nobles. They've been around for great books here. So we'll show all these. Meanwhile, Mama Bear is going to hit me in the back of the head with something. Did you hear that in the background? Because, and also, if you're looking for the Weirdo Warriors United Cub, where can they don't make a donation to be able to pick that up?
Yeah, that's at bonfire.com/store Into the Red Rabbit Hole. So, and we have T-shirts and all kinds of stuff on there too. So,
excellent. We'll get that and we'll mention
We
that
will
to you.
definitely make you all honorary Weirdo Warriors. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank
wow.
you.
Yeah, you guys.
We wear that proudly.
Yeah, you guys are Weirdo Warriors just like us. So.
It is a pleasure. I'd love to have you back. Will you try to come back here in a few weeks? I would appreciate it very much.
All right.
Because
I
I know our chat room and everybody else enjoys it, and I sure do enjoy it. And
Yep.
there's so much more we can cover and talk about. But bless you all. Thank you so much. Thank you, chat room. Give it up for these wonderful people. And may everybody have a wonderful week. And praise be to all of them. Stay strong. This is a tough time in the world, but be straight and be strong in the man up there, and everything will work out right. So thank you again. And next week we'll see you on Into the Far.
Night, everyone.
See y'all.